Okay, so I'm putting my darts into my pants. I'm gonna start, you can start with the front and the back, doesn't really matter. Put my darts in. Start with the right side. Do my left side first because I use the other one as a guide, just in case I go a little bit further. I'm just gonna fold this over here so I can give myself my own guide. Oh, gotta pop my thread here. Fix that really quickly. Wonderful to have a threader on your machine, guys, like a godsend. Alright. I'm using my guide here. Come on down to the end, exact same spot. So I got my darts in my garment for the front and the back. And okay, here, this is my back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my front inside out. I have my back open, remember, so we know where the back is. And I'm going to place it inside of the pants, right sides together. Let's see, my back here, so. All right. Now the way I'm going to attach these is I'm going to put my side seams together perfectly. And you can iron these seams down, that's fine if you want to. If you don't, I typically don't. For the essence of time here, I did not, but especially if you're a newbie, you might want to just iron those down, just to keep your garment clean. So I'm going to go ahead and pin at the side seam, and I'm going to go over and pin at the other side seam. And make sure you identify the right side seam for your garment, because you got a lot of darts going on. So you want to make sure that your fabric stretches right over to where you need it to be. So I got my side seam here. And I'm going to pin that. So I'm just going to double check my space here. I got my side seam on my first one here. Let's see, got the right one listed here. That's right, so I'm just going to pin that again. Make sure that's right. Check the space. Everything is lining up because I have my darts. Look at that, right there in the same general area. This is a little messy, and that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at my side seam. And so, just because I don't want to make sure that I calculate anything incorrectly, I can always go back around and sew the front part of the back, or the back part, remember. So I'm just going to make sure everything is aligned here, and I'm going to sew a 5/8 seam allowance all the way around. Make sure everything's lined up. Pressing down my darts in the meanwhile. Excuse me. And this is where my garment ends. So I'm just going to I'm going to come back around to the front since I have it sewn. going to line that up. And I think I might need to take my dart in just a little bit. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and pin that correctly first. And then mark for that adjustment for my dart. To make sure everything is flush. And I'm going to fix that dart first. Come back, everything is flush, and I'm going to sew the rest of that back center seam. You're going to do it this way, you don't have to. That's just how I sew my garments, just so I can make adjustments in the meanwhile. Alright, so I have everything sewn together. So what you're going to do now is turn your garment inside out. And then, you're going to go ahead and try it on to see if you need to make any adjustments. If you do, always make your adjustments at your darts from there. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how the finished garments looks. I have my finished garment, as you can see. Well, it's not finished yet, but I just wanted to let you know how the top and bottom piece looks together. And what I'm going to do now is I went ahead and did a seam rip on the back piece of my garment, 5 inches. Now, the reason why I got 5 inches because it took at least 5 inches of me taking my center back out of my garment for it to fit over my butt. So it may or may not be that for you. It may be more, it may be less. But that's going to be the start of where my zipper is going to be. So I'm going to turn this inside out, and I'm going to place it here on my table, and I'm going to go find my zipper. Now, I purchased a 20 to 22 inch zipper. It's going to be a little bit long for this, but it's actually really good because I don't think anything shorter would have worked. I'm going to use a light blue zipper, invisible zipper, so that you can see the zipper. I'm not an expert at putting in invisible zippers, so there's a ton of resources out there for you to use. Before I put it on, what I'm going to do is sew I'm going to baste a 5/8 of a seam allowance down the back so that I can use it to put on my zipper. Now I'm going to move up my stitch to 5, which is the highest mines go. Some more expensive machines go up to 6, but I'm going to move mine up to 5 because it's going to be easy for me to take back out. I'm not going to back stitch it, I'm just going to go on down. There's a lot of better ways you can do this, but this is the way that I do. I don't know if it's right or wrong in the sewing God's world, but this is what I do for my garment. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. You can pin it if you want to. I'm still making sure that my seams are together and they're not lopsided. And I'm just basting in this. You can do this by hand if you want to. I prefer not to, but you can. And I'm just going down to where my 5 inches is at. And I can see that because my thread stops there. That's where I ripped the seam. I'm just going to re-secure that there. I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to pin my zipper on here. Now you can, oh, that didn't do the top. Let's get that back in there. Alright, there we go. Somebody's out of blue. So I'm going to go ahead and bob this real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and start placing my zipper on and come right back to you. Okay, so what I've done is I've pinned my zipper on, and what I did is gone at least 1.5 inches past my 5-inch mark on my garment. I've pinned the zipper side up because the invisible part is down, and I'm going to go ahead and sew on the zipper with my zipper foot. And what I typically use is these tweezers that came with my serger. I usually use them to move the zipper to the side so I can get a really close stitch. You don't want to sew on the zipper. I move my pins as I get to it, and I just use it to help guide me. You can use your finger. I don't suggest it. And just notice that I have my garment to one side and only have that flap showing so that I can sew that down. You don't want to see your threads from your zipper on your finished garment. Like, again, there's very many techniques that you can use to put on a visible zipper. This is just what I use. I can't say that I use it successfully all the time, but this is just what works for me. I don't mind a little bit of blue showing. That's the reason why I use this color. So at the end of the day, if I don't get it perfect and it shows a little bit, then that's fine to me. It's something that I have to perfect as well, as getting on these zippers. Two things that gave me a lot of trouble sewing is zippers and sleeves, and I'm working to perfect both of those skills. I have a book on it that I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and really read and gather some information from, but I'm working on making time for that as well, especially as I start to, construct garments for other people, or, just garments that I want to have a clean finish for myself. This just allows me to get really close to that edge there without trying to sew my fingers off, which I've almost done many a times. I'm just going to kind of hold this one here, make sure my garments move to the side. Finish some of that piece. If you happen to sew on your zipper, you can always go in with your seam ripper and just cut that one little area. It's not really that big of a deal. It happens. And then what I'm going to do here is stick a little pin here to let me know exactly where I stop so I can make sure that I have it aligned. While I'm doing that, I'm going to work from the bottom up and pin for the other side. Once I do that, I'm going to go in there, stitch the other side just like I did, but I'm going to work from bottom to top. And I would have finished installing my zipper. Once we do that, you're going to go ahead and just hem your arm lines, and then you'll be ready to close off the hem around your neck after the zipper is done. And I'll show you how to do that in just a couple moments. Okay, so I have my zipper attached successfully. So what I'm going back in, and I am seam ripping that baste line all the way down to my 5 inches below my waist that I made on the edge of the zipper. So I'm just going down, seam ripping this. And like I said, there's a lot of better ways you can attach a visual zipper. If you find any, please tag me on them, because, it's something that I work on as well. We're not all the best or experts at anything. I don't think anyone is. And I am not, by any means, an expert at putting on invisible zippers, but I like the way they look on my finished garment, so I don't really mind when mine show just a little bit. I'm just seam ripping right on down the back. It's very easy because I sewed a 5mm base stitch all the way down. So it's not tight. It doesn't give me any opportunities to rip this fabric, which is easy to do when you're working with linen. Once you snag a wrong piece, you're creating a hole in your garment, and that is something that you don't want at all. So it's good to be very careful. Now, I did snag my zipper in a couple spots, so I'm going to check my zipper with the seam ripper just to make sure that those spots are clear so that my zipper can zip all the way down. Happens all the time. I sew zippers a lot faster than I used to. It used to be one of those things that I sew by hand because I was more comfortable with my hand than I was with my sewing machine. And I can tell when I get to that 5-inch mark because my seam is going to get really tight, and I see it coming up here. And I can't stretch it anymore with the 5-inch or with the 5mm basting stitch. So what I do is just remove the excess threads here all the way up to the top. And give my vacuum machine hell. And just do it all the way to the top. So you can see my invisible zipper. Haha, whoop-de-doo. Right, goes all the way down to 5 inches below my waist so it can get over my behind. So the next thing I'm going to do is, and you can see I have some couple areas where I need to clear my zipper, and I'm going to do that just by guiding under the zipper with my seam ripper, just making sure those areas are clean on both sides all the way down. If you have any blockages, when you do this, it's going to clear it. And I wouldn't worry about just going back in and restitching or anything. See, I had one there, so now my zipper can go down. So you'll know when it's clear, and just make, and you can just kind of go down. If it stops, then you know you have a blockage. So I'll spare you the details on that. The next thing I'm going to do is close my armhole with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm not going to use a 5/8 because I don't want to create really skinny straps. Even though I cut for my seam allowance, I don't want my straps really skinny, so I'm just going to fold down. Well, put my regular foot on first. Put my garment down at the side. So you can do it at the shoulder seam, or you can do it at the side seam, whatever, but I always suggest starting at a seam. I'm going to fold that down. Thing about linen is you don't have to worry about having to provide for much ease. Kind of works with you. I eyeball this. If you're a newbie, I would suggest that you pin this or use some bias tape. Whatever works for you. Kind of a rebel against process. Doesn't always work out for me. But it's just the way I am. If it doesn't turn out right, then I'll just seam rip it correctly and try it again. Now, if you have a serger, which I do, you can serge the ends of this because it's best that you do it for, especially for linen. I'm not going to do it for the case of this video. But I know when I wash this, I'm probably going to have some loose ends, so I'll probably go back in and do something with it, or put some fabric glue or something to just try to kind of tie off those edges so that they don't continue to fray. Or if you have a regular machine, you can just do a zigzag stitch on it. That works as well. part is done. So I have my armhole done. Just needs a good ironing to kind of iron out a little bit of those kinks. Cut off your excess threads that you have. I have them everywhere that I need to clean up, but I'll spare you the details. And then the next thing you're going to do is do the other armhole, and then you're going to work on your neck seam. Now what I like to do, instead of cutting the zipper, I like to fold it down along with my hem. And I'll just stick a little pin in there to keep my stuff here aligned, because it's a very small hem that I'm going to do here. And I'll do it on this side as well, because I'm going to work from this side all the way around. So just going to fold that over. I'm just going to make sure that's aligned with my other edge, because I don't want to have a finished garment and have my top end of my garment lopsided. So I'll just measure that. That aligns pretty well. I don't sew my outer zipper, but I do sew the folded zipper. That way it doesn't stop prematurely. Your zipper doesn't. Alright, there we go. And I just go around the neckline. Again, I don't need, you know, any ease with the linen, because it gives just a tiny bit of stretch, which is enough ease I need to be able to go around. And I just eyeball it again. If you're needy, just go ahead and pin it. I'm just doing a really small hem here. And I'm coming on around to my other zipper. I'm trying to move that over, just to back up a little bit. Move that over so I can make sure I catch that zipper. There we go. And cut. So I have my neckline done. Again, a good pressing. And I'm doing my other armhole. I'm going to take this out. I need to clip thousands of threads I have here. I can zip all the way up to the top here. And my garment is seemingly finished. So all you need to do is put it on. And you need to go to someone in your house. Put the garment on. Put on your shoes that you would like to wear with it. I would put it on inside out. That's typically what I do. And I put my shoes on and I stand straight so they can go ahead and do my hems. Once they do my hems, I have them mark it with a pin and I iron it before I actually go to the sewing machine. Now, if you have a hem that's probably 2 inches or more, then what I would do is do my hems at the side seam on both sides and just maybe like hand sew a little tap in the middle on the front and the back. You don't have to go all the way around unless you want to. It's not really that necessary, but it's your preference. And I hope that you check my blog at www.needlesandfashion@blogspot.com, or come and visit my Facebook group at Needles and Fashion at Facebook, on Facebook, and see how the finished garment looks. I hope that I can edit this video well enough to be able to put a picture of me with it on so that you can see how it looks. If not, please check the blog or the Facebook group for the finished product. I thank you for attending my very first video This is my first. I don't know how this is going to look edited, but I hope that you enjoyed the process, and I appreciate you guys following my journey, and I look forward to creating more videos in the future. Not easy peasy, patterns, but something that's a little bit more advanced or moderate level for you to sew. As I learn, I will make sure that you learn as well. So this is Janice signing off.